Good morning. I'm Gordon Mott, the executive editor of Cigar Aficionado. I'm here at Davidoff of Geneva in New York City this morning to tell you about one of the most fascinating cigar experiences I ever had. 30 years ago, I was a young and very green foreign correspondent living in Mexico and traveling to Central America. It was there that I began to smoke cigars. Part of it was affectation. My hero and mentor in the press corps was a cigar smoker, and I was young enough to know that I wanted to be just like him. But part of it was out of necessity, too. After 18 to 20-hour days sitting around the hotel bar with my professional colleagues, a cigar was a welcome relief from a day of cigarettes, and it accompanied that glass of Jack Daniels that I usually enjoyed every night. After one particularly long trip to Central America, I went back to Mexico, and I was invited out to dinner to the home of a government press official. My wife and I went, and like most Mexican dinners, we finally finished about midnight. As we pushed back from the table, the press official said, "Would you like a cigar?" I said, "Absolutely." So we went to his humidor. He opened the humidor and handed me what I now remember was probably my first Cohiba in my life. The yellow and black band was distinctive, and I knew exactly what I had in my hands. So I clipped the head, lit the cigar quickly with a match, and when I looked up, he had this look of horror on his face. He said, "That's not the way to light a cigar. Let me show you how to do it properly." I was a little taken aback, but he sat down in front of his table, picked up the box of matches, and laid out 3 matches on the table in front of it. He picked up the cigar, then the match, lit the match, got the flame burning, put it under the foot of the cigar, and slowly began rotating the foot of the cigar over the tip of the flame. Now I noticed immediately that he had not cut the head of the cigar, and he began to explain why, never taking his eye off the foot of the cigar and keeping the flame of the match burning. He said, "Think about it. When you light a match or use a lighter, there are aromas and flavors that come off of those that if the head is cut, that air is going to flow right in to the cigar and maybe change the flavor of the tobacco." That made sense to me, but I was still a little skeptical. He was very deliberate, never looking up, rotating the cigar over the flame, clearly concentrating on being sure that the cigar was lighting evenly all the way around the foot, but nonetheless, I was still pretty skeptical. How could you get a cigar lit without cutting off the head and every now and then taking a little puff on it to be sure that it was being lit properly? He seemed unconcerned about that, kept lighting the matches. Now in the third match I could tell he was even a little more focused, concentrating on the center of the cigar to be sure that it was lit. Again, he never stopped talking, telling me that it was the only way that you should treat a great hand-rolled cigar, knocking off the ash of the match every now and then to be sure the flame kept burning properly, but not in a hurry, taking his time, slowly lighting the cigar. As the match finally burned down to where it was going to burn his knuckles, he shook it out, blew on the end, took his cutter, cut the head off, blew on the end again, and took a deep draw on the cigar. Now I'll be frank with you. In the 30 years since I've seen that technique, I have rarely used it. it takes too long. When I'm on the tasting panel, tasting 5, 10 cigars a day, I want to get them lit as quickly as possible and make my judgment about that cigar. But I'd like to recommend something to you. If you're at the end of a long day, sitting around a table with your friends, you have plenty of time, there's a glass of bourbon or a glass of cognac in front of you, try it. Take the 3 matches, take your time, follow the ritual, and you'll end up with a perfectly lit cigar.